What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the FantasyHolics. We're talking everything and anything running backs today. But before you do that, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook pages. All can be found on our YouTube landing page. We're going to be giving you advice and analysis all year to help you win your fantasy football league. Now let's get to it. I have Bo, I have Brant, I have Patrick with me. Guys, how's it going today?
Stellar.
It's hot.
It's a day. It's been a day. Yeah, we're going over running backs today. And, we're going to be giving you overvalued, undervalued, our league winner, a rookie to consider in your fantasy draft. But before we do that, I want to talk running backs in general and how much the position has changed and how much the value has changed from a fantasy football perspective. Brant, I'll start with you. I know you're having a long day, but we'll go to you first. How do you value the position? When you're taking running backs now, are you taking them first, or has that changed?
So it's changed drastically. I used to be all over going running back to start my drafts, but most of the leagues going into running back by committees. You don't see very many workhorse backs that are guaranteed 3-down work. You do have a few. I think if you're like in the middle of a draft, going hero RB might be your best bet. Take a guy that might be able to solidify your running back one, and then just stack wide receivers and go down, because really, if you're not getting one of your top 5 or 6 running backs, you're not getting a workhorse to help really carry your team. You have to hope for the big games here and there from a guy to really finish up there.
But what about you?
Yeah, Josh, for me, I don't think the pendulum swung quite as far at this point. Now, obviously, there's top-end wideouts like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase that I take over a lot of the running backs. But I think there is such a disparity at the position. Running back 10 versus running back 20 is such a large gap. Whereas wide receiver 10 to wide receiver 20 is a lot more narrow. And there's way more wide receivers out there. It's more deep of a pool. So for me, if the opportunity presents itself for me to go running back early, and that's where the draft lets me go, I'm going to do that, because that does eventually set you apart also on the other end. But yeah, I think we're entering a day and age in fantasy where people like to see those scores skyrocket. The teams are a little less balanced, and the wide receivers do tend to put up those points a little bit more. But we are also seeing the running back position evolve. A lot of pass catching running backs are coming and hanging their own in the PPR world as well.
You mean at this point, are you even going running back though? I know you said maybe grab the first one. You and Brant both said that maybe, even with the hero strategy or even grabbing one in the first round. Should you go back to back, or are you putting yourself in a deficit there?
I don't see a problem with it at all. Again,
okay.
For me, there's still wide receivers like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, guys that are still a wide receiver one upside in that third round. So I think it does exist for me to go running back. I mean, if you're going to leave me Nick Chubb and Najee Harris in the first and second round, how do you pass that? I just can't see myself doing it.
Yeah. Patrick, what about you?
Yeah, like once upon a time, like pre PPR, and when Priest Holmes and Sean Alexander were getting 400 carries a year, it was the only way to play. But now running backs, like there's so many committees, there's so many, the volume and targets is what really wins championships these days. And then in a dynasty draft, I don't even know if I want to pick a running back early. They're not many of them are getting that second contract. So you think, I mean, aside from maybe a Bijan, do I really want to take a running back who is going to get 3 years on his rookie deal, and then that team might not re-sign him, and then the just shelf life of a running back is so short? I don't want to take him. I just roll the dice on the late guy.
Man, so when I play fantasy, like I'm the guy who takes like 3 running backs off the bat no matter what. Like that was my strategy. Like I wanted my running back and my flex to be better than your running back one. And it kicked my ass last year. I'm not gonna lie. Like beat the crap out of me. And the one strategy that I saw kind of work was the 0 running back strategy. Is this something that you think is to be more of the norm rather than a kind of an outlier going forward? Brant, if you want to hit on that.
So I think it could be the norm. Like I said, it's really how the draft falls. I mean, right now you're talking your first 3 picks are probably wideouts. Maybe you can make a case for CMC to be in the third overall, but you're pretty much Jefferson and Chase, I think, are your 1 and 2, and it's just kind of where the draft falls in my mind.
Any other thoughts from anybody else?
Like how Josh is taking running backs early.
Yeah.
All of my last round picks is that guy that's one injury away from a tremendous workload.
Yeah.
Like last year, Zonovan Knight just came off the practice squad to like 200 or 300-yard games in a row. It's the guy that you have no idea. You don't even know his name in week 11, and he's your starter in week 14.
Yeah.
It's like my last round picks are running back. That's what I've been doing lately.
Yeah, Josh, I also want to add, there's been a time we've seen this pendulum swing in fantasy before. There was a time not too long ago when guys like Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald were all going early in drafts, and running backs were falling later. And then the pendulum kind of swing back with guys like Todd Gurley coming in and setting the world on fire. Jonathan Taylor, who Patrick I know has probably seen and watched a lot more than I have. But I think it swings, and just when you think you've got your thumb on the fantasy football world, it's going to change again. So we might be maybe tight ends early and often is the thing next year. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
If your name's Kelsey.
You're right, Kelsey. Dalton Kincaid in the 4th round. That's
some random guy named Kelsey watching the show's going, all right, Brant said I have to draft all tight ends, so here we go.
But I'm actually seeing people or hearing people that say they're going to take like a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts early too. I mean, I'm not talking first round early, but are going to reach for them. And you have people every once in a while, dude. Like that's not uncommon for someone to reach for a quarterback early on. But I feel like there are people who are going to actually like change the whole draft because I think Hurts is going to go and then Allen's going to go. Like we might see this year where it's like 2nd round, 3rd round, like quarterbacks are going to be gone, which I find very interesting. Is that an overreaction to, the running quarterback and what we saw last year?
Yeah, in my mind, it is. We're in the middle of a draft right now with the FantasyHolics, and I actually took a quarterback in the 2nd round.
There we go.
I absolutely hate myself. Instantly. I took Josh Allen.
Okay.
I took a stack with Allen and Diggs. I took Diggs in the 1st.
Oh, wow.
I instantly messaged Bo and go, I absolutely hate what I just had to do. I didn't like anybody on the board at that time, and I didn't want to reach too far. So I said, well, let me solidify a top 3 quarterback in my mind.
Yeah.
And if that's what you like there, then that's what you got to go with. And I think that's just, in my mind, it was me adapting to what I liked there. I absolutely hate taking a quarterback early, so I absolutely despised myself for doing this.
Okay, man.
But I'm so glad I could sit here and talk about it and how terribly mad I was when I did it. But I absolutely I hate going quarterback early.
Let it out, Brant.
First step.
Okay.
I'm thinking of that like the meme with the super angry red eyes face and the happy like paper face on the front. That's
first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem. In the same draft, I went the opposite way. I actually took Anthony Richardson as my first quarterback and followed it up 2 rounds later with Dak Prescott as a little insurance. Wow. So, and that was like, I think the 10th or 11th round that I took Dak and like the 9th that I got Richardson. So, I almost went the opposite end of it. And I still think there's rushing upside there. Now, if I could combine the 2 of them, maybe I'd be onto something, but
yeah. Patrick, what about you? How do you value quarterbacks this year?
I've been a boring pocket passer kind of guy. I never liked drafting the mobile quarterbacks because I always felt if they lose that mobile ability and they're not a great passer, then like what if Justin Fields could only pass? What if he had 2 or 3 rushes per game and he had to stand in the pocket all day, every day? But I've probably got to change the way I draft because Anthony Richardson, if he has a good year, is going to be end of the 2nd round pick next year. Everybody but me loves mobile quarterbacks, and to compete in the game, you might have to change your ways of building a team.
Yeah, this is a year of change for me too. I'm not doing the running back strategy like I used to.
Tight end.
It's over. I lost that battle. But let's move on. Let's still talk running backs. We're going to give you an overvalued, undervalued, a league winner, and a rookie. Patrick, let's start with you. Let's start with overvalued. Who is your overvalued running back going to drafts this year?
My overvalued running back is Cam Akers. I think that most, if not, when he was a healthy scratch early in the middle of last year, I think it was weeks 7 and 9 or 8 and 9, he was a healthy scratch. When he came back, Cooper Kupp was injured and Matthew Stafford was injured. and it directly correlates where Akers' season took off was where Kupp and Stafford were hurt. I don't think it's sustainable. I'll gladly pass him up at his current ADP. I don't know if it's repeatable. The Rams could be absolutely terrible, and I just can't get on board.
Brant, I saw your facial expression.
So, Cam Akers is over on the Fat Boys. We've talked about it a lot. We love Cam Akers over there, and this is a guy that I absolutely love to steal late in drafts. I don't think he's overvalued. I think his PPR upside, I believe, is going to go up because Baker Mayfield's gone, and if you look, Baker Mayfield does not dump off the ball. So with Stafford back, I think he's going to be a lot of dump off passes. There's not a whole lot to threaten his workload ability. This is a guy that you could see be a 3-down workhorse and getting him late. I think he's 6th or 7th round ADP. I don't have it pulled up right now. But that's a guy that if you go the 0 RB, this is a guy that I think is a great guy to start your running backs with.
All right. Well, there we go. We're giving advice. We're being contradicting advice. I love it. Brand, who do you overvalue?
I overvalue Alexander Madison. He's a guy that in the 4 games that he's had to be the workhorse back, 3 of the games were against the bottom 2 defenses, twice against Detroit and once against Seattle. Now, his other game was against the Rams, where he did put up, I think it was 23 fantasy points against the Rams. But the other 2 were against the bottom 2 defenses giving out fantasy points. He couldn't even break 43% of the snap share last year with Cook there when everybody was saying Cook's in decline. I don't believe Madison. I think he's a 4th round draft pick is what I have down here. Ty Chandler, I think, is showing enough workload there, able to help, and McBride. I really think this is going to be a running back by committee, and I just don't see Madison being a guy as a 3-down workhorse. So I just think that this guy is just being overvalued and being drafted way too early.
All right, Bo, who do you have overvalued?
Yeah, so Brant will get a chuckle out of this one, but it's a player that I just love to hate, and it's Dameon Pierce. You know, there's been times where I've thought about hopping on the hype train with Dameon Pierce, and then I chicken out and I watch the train just go rolling on down the tracks. But the more I dive into it, the less I like him. He's currently going in the late 5th round for ADP. So if you're going the early wide receivers, this could be your running back 1, which I just want to throw up in my mouth saying that. Which is, I guess, why I'm still leaning on. If you're going to let running backs fall to me, I'll take them because I don't want Dameon Pierce.
Right.
The biggest factor for me is last year he benefited from no competition. I mean, he started camp with Rex Burkhead, who's, I mean,
yeah,
the 4 of us combined have about the same age as Rex Burkhead. Not as much athleticism, obviously. Me and Brant weighed the athleticism down a little bit. But, there's just no competition there, and he benefited tremendously from that. This year, there's a guy in town that I could see being the RB1 in Houston by the end of the season by way of Devin Singletary. The guy is a PPR monster. He catches passes. And speaking of catching passes, Singletary only had 39 targets in a terrible offense where they had a terrible offensive line last year, and Davis Mills had to get the ball out of his hands often with a terrible wide receiving core. What's that tell me about Dameon Pierce? He's not a pass catcher. And now they have one in town. I think Dameon Pierce being taken in the 5th round next year, this is a guy that goes like 10th round or later. I'm just completely out on Pierce.
I mean, I just like taking running backs in teams that suck. Like, I'm be honest with you, it's just I get it. Like, I understand.
Like Cam Akers.
Yeah. Let's shift our attention to undervalued, but we'll stick with you. We'll go reverse order now. Who do you think is undervalued in drafts?
Yeah, so the reoccurring trend here for me is going to be guys who catch passes. And for undervalued, I went with one of the guys that I think could be the next Alvin Kamara in James Cook. The offense is high powered. And he showed flashes last year. He's currently going in the early 7th round. So again, tons of value here late in drafts. Opposite end of why I dislike Dameon Pierce. Devin Singletary left James Cook's backfield where he had 52 targets alone to Devin Singletary last year.
Yeah.
Damian Harris, who was added this offseason by Buffalo, is not a threat to that. His career high in targets was 23 in New England, so he's not a pass-catching back. So even if he does get on the field early and Cook is the passing down back, that's plenty of PPR upside for me. And if you look at his last season, weeks 13 through 18 minus the obvious one in week 17 with the Hamlin injury, he was averaging a running back finish of about 28, and that was with Singletary still seeing 55% or more of the snaps in those games. So in a limited workload, he was coming in and putting up high flex numbers down the stretch, and that's only going to continue to get better as he gets more time under his belt.
All right, Brant, how about you? Undervalued.
Undervalued is a guy that got one of the biggest free agent contracts for a running back, and that's Miles Sanders going into the Carolina Panthers. He gets reunited with Deuce Staley, where when he was with Deuce Staley there in Philly, he averaged 4.1 targets per game, which when Deuce left, he went down to 2.1. So his PPR value went down when he was in Philly after Deuce Staley left. Deuce is one of the biggest reasons why he came to Carolina. He's one of only 2 backs that are averaging $6 million in salary that were signed this year. And he's what's behind him? Chuba Hubbard. I know, Finley, I'm sorry, I don't mean to take a stab at you. I know you love this man, but Chuba's not much of a threat in my mind to Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is coming off a career year where he had 259 attempts, 1,269 yards, and 11 touchdowns on the ground. That's not even counting his PPR value, which I think goes tremendously high with the rookie quarterback there who's going to try to play it safe and dump off, I think, on screens. So I think Sanders is going to be really involved, and he's going as the 5th-round draft pick. So if you're going the 0 RB, like we've talked about, this is a guy that you could get for your 1st or 2nd running back down there in the 5th round. And I absolutely don't mind it because I think he's going to see 15 to 20 touches per game.
Wow. All right. There we go. Patrick, undervalued.
Well, I thought about pivoting from this guy because he got some added competition this week, but I actually think it proves my case a little bit better. He has volume. He has targets. Now you could get him a little bit cheaper because Ezekiel Elliott's in town. It's Ramondre Stevenson. He had 88 targets last year, 123 carries. He was 5th in the NFL in yards after contact, 5th in broken tackles. I think he's going to have enough workload. He might not get 88 targets again. He could still get 50 or 60. Damian Harris is gone, and he had 130 touches last year. If Ezekiel Elliott can come in and get 130, 150 touches and still keep that slice of the pie for Stevenson. So I think you could get him cheaper now than you could have a week ago. And I think that's the whole point of the undervalue debate.
So, I mean, this is our first time talking since Zeke has been since he signed with the Patriots. So I assume that doesn't affect how you feel about him at all. But Bo, Brant, like, how do you feel about Zeke going to the Patriots? Do you think this affects Ramondre's stock in a negative way? Is his stock going down because of that?
I think his draft capital is going to go down a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's still going to be the PPR back there. He's still going to be the 3rd down back. He's still probably going to be the guy to see the majority of the workload. Zeke in my mind, I think is going to be maybe the goal line back. So I think only thing that may hurt is probably touchdowns. Maybe go down a little bit. But if he's the PPR guy, he's the guy on there.
Yeah, I tend to agree here. I do think Zeke vultures several touchdowns in the red zone, and that's fine. But like Patrick alluded to, if Stevenson's going to have 80 plus targets again this year, I'm not at all worried about him.
Right.
I won't shy away from him, but I'm also the guy sitting here saying I'm not going wide receiver heavy to start a draft. So again, let me get Ramondre Stevenson in the 4th round now as my 4th running back. I don't care. But yes, I'm not. Both. I will go on record and say this: both Zeke and Ramondre Stevenson are fantasy relevant this year. Zeke's just also going to be drafted in like the 14th round at this point. They'll both be relevant.
Yeah,
and enough people still have that Bill Belichick running back phobia.
Me.
I don't think it's true.
I can't do it, bro. I can't do it.
Year before last, I bet you didn't know that Damian Harris, of all people, had a 900-yard, 15 touchdown season. I think it was 2021.
Wow.
And the corpse of Sony Michel had 247 touches in 2019. Bill Belichick has had a Swiss Army knife in the past when he had James White, he had Burkhead. He has like a sport now.
Yeah.
He does not have all of those fun, gadgety guys. He has Stevenson, he has Elliott, and Pierre Strong is great, but I still think Ramondre is going to get enough volume to be awesome.
And there was that 1 year LeGarrette Blount had like 27 touchdowns. I don't know. Patrick, we'll stay with you. A league winner. Someone actually, you know what? Before you league winner, let's do rookies. Let's do a rookie, and then we'll do league winners. So, Patrick, a rookie who you're looking out for in the draft.
There's some sexy ones early, but to stay on a value, he might not even go drafted in a lot of leagues. Roshan Johnson has some awesome tape. He does not have a lot of competition ahead of him. Khalil Herbert is a first and second down guy. He can't really block at all. I don't know if Deontay Foreman's really, I think he's 26 or 27. I don't know how much he has left in the tank. Roshan's tape looks fantastic. If you're watching Texas highlights, if you weren't looking closely enough, you may think it's Bijan. He just looks for contact and plows through people, shoulder down, stiff arm. He's exciting to watch, and I'd be shocked if somehow Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman are better than him.
All right, Brant, who do you got?
I got one of the sexy guys, like you said, the early drafted guys. I got Jahmyr Gibbs there in Detroit.
Yeah.
He was drafted 12th overall, and that is all in the same weekend where they traded Swift. So obviously they think Gibbs is going to be better than Swift, stay healthy better than Swift. They think Gibbs is going to be the guy. This guy is a great pass catcher. He's lined up. We've already heard him lining up at the slot, lining up all over the field, using, getting the catches out of the backfield. He's going to be a PPR stud. I think it's 6 weeks they're going to be missing JMO. So they're going to need somebody else out there to catch the ball. And Gibbs is a guy that could be phenomenal for him. He used his 4.36 speed, and he was able to produce 5.6 yards per carry in college. And really, they signed Montgomery, which I think Montgomery will once again. I think he'll be in a kind of a Zeke Elliott role or Jamal Williams role where he may see the goal line work. But Gibbs may end up taking that away from him too as the guy. I think Gibbs is going to be a PPR monster, and he's going in the 4th round of drafts right now. And he might be a guy that I'm a little afraid of, but I don't know if I am. If he's the guy that's sitting there in the 4th round and I don't really like anything on the board and it's between him and a quarterback, I think I might end up taking Gibbs. I think I'm going to take Gibbs there.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
All right, Bo, you're a rookie.
I just want to say, Brant, you sit on a throne of lies. For me, opportunity is king. Patrick, this is one of those guys that 100% fits the bill of what you were talking about when you're taking guys late that are an injury away potentially. And I'm not sure this guy's an injury away, honestly. That's Devin Achane of the Miami Dolphins, currently going in the middle of the 10th round. So it's after you've established your lineup. Most of us have filled the flex and probably have a high-end wide receiver on the bench at this point already. He's got huge PPR upside. I know it's preseason, all right, I get it, but he was out there early in the preseason game, and he had 4 receptions early. So it's a guy. He's there for a reason. And last year at Texas A&M, he caught 36 passes, which for a college running back, that's a good amount in one season. He averaged 5.4 yards per. And then he also there's concerns about his size, but being a little undersized. And again, I'm a little biased potentially, but I still think the SEC is the best football conference in the country for football and college football, that is. And he ran the ball 196 times, still amassing over 5 yards a carry in the SEC for one of the weaker teams in the SEC in Texas A&M. So he's got to compete with 472-year-old Raheem Mostert and can't stay healthy Jeff Wilson. So, the writing's on the wall here. Devin Achane is either going to fit in with those two and not be able to stay healthy, or he's going to take the backfield. Right. There's no in between. And in the 10th round, I'm willing to take a gamble on something like that.
All right. And then finally, last but not least, Bo, we'll start with you. Go back around the horn. League winner from the running back position.
Okay, so this, like Patrick, I kind of had some inkling of potentially changing mine because there was some more developing news around this guy that same day as the Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke deal. But I have Breece Hall as the league winner. And again, this is another one whose draft stock is coming down inch by inch here because of the Dalvin Cook news. Initially, when I saw it, my first reaction, Josh, was oh crap, he's going to the IR, he's going to miss some time. Quite the opposite of that. Like the very next day, they take him off the PUP and he's practicing now, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But he's already going in the late third round, so I think he squeaks into the fourth by the time a lot of like redrafts are actually taking place. And what's interesting to me is he kind of got a slow start week one last year. It took him some time to get the groundwork going. Michael Carter was way better week one last year. Week two, he had to finish RB14. Week 3, RB12. Week 4, RB15. Week 5, RB4. Week 6, RB6. And then week 7, he got hurt in the first quarter of the game, and he still finished his RB22 on the week. So he was getting right there to the cusp of like, okay, here's Breece Hall. He's kicking the door down. He's introducing himself to the rest of the league. So me being me, I had to stat him out for the whole season. How would it have finished if he played 17 games? He was on pace for 194 carries, 1,123 yards, 10 rushing touchdowns, 75 targets, 47 receptions, 527 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, amassing 290 fantasy points in PPR leagues, standard scoring PPR, that would have had him finish as RB5 last season. He's here. Okay.
Wow.
Dalvin Cook does not scare me off of him. And again, if this ADP continues to slide, somebody's getting the steal of the draft in the 4th round with this guy.
Wow. All right. I like that. Stand strong on that take, man, because I was worried, I was worried when Dalvin signed there. I don't know if Dalvin scares me. I think Breece is just too good to keep off of the field. So I like that a lot. Brand, what about you, your league winner?
So mine's a guy that the day that Cook was signed and everything else, there was little rumblings about him possibly getting traded. That's Alvin Kamara. They're the New Orleans Saints. He's a guy he's going late in drafts because of his 3-game suspension. Well, he's never played a full season in his entire career except for his rookie year. And he's finished top 10 in almost every single year except for last year. He did have a down year last year, but that offense was nothing too impressive at all last year. He's a guy that you can get late in drafts, and he could be your RB3 after as early as week 4. He's a guy that's going to be used in the pass catching role. He's going to be used in the rushing role. We even saw him used in the goal line role in the preseason game. I know that was week 1, so not a whole lot to write home about, but there's still a chance that this guy could easily finish in the top 10. Like I said, in 2021, he only played 13 games. He finished as the RB8 in 13 games. And that was with 9 touchdowns. So missing 3 games doesn't shy me off of him much. And this is a guy that you're getting later in the drafts. Yes, you do have to sit on and look at a suspension for the first 3 weeks. But this is a guy we've seen do it year after year after year. And it doesn't shy me away from it at all.
All right, Patrick, what about you, your league winner?
My league winner, until he's dethroned, he's still King Henry. It's still Derrick Henry. It seems like as the season goes along, Henry just gets stronger and stronger. He's going to have a vicious stiff arm on a Thursday night game against the Jaguars or the Colts. He's going to have a 90-yard touchdown, and then you think like, wow, and then he'll rip off like a 95-yard touchdown. He had his most targets ever last year. Offensive line got a little bit better. I was hoping that the Titans were getting a little bit better with Hopkins. Treylon Burks had a little setback, but being optimistic here, I think the Titans will be a little bit better, but I think it's hard to bet against Derrick Henry. I think he's going to have, like we mentioned earlier, his LeGarrette Blount season. People might be writing him off, and then he has a 1,500-yard, 18 to 20 touchdown kind of like exclamation point kind of season, and until he's dethroned, I'd hate to be facing him in like week 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, he's someone who I stayed away from last year, kind of thinking it might be the end. It wasn't. so yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with King Henry there. Guys, thanks for giving your input. I'm going to give you my list really, really quick. Not as confident as you guys, but Overvalued, I had Aaron Jones. I just don't believe in Jordan Love. And I know he's a PPR machine or can be a PPR machine, but I think they're going to lean heavy on A.J. Dillon this year. I think they're going to be more committed to running the football and having Jordan Love do less. Now, that could mean dump downs. It could not mean dump downs. I just have a feeling that Aaron Jones just won't be involved as much as people think he will be. Undervalued, Damian Harris. I think the Bills are going to be committed to running the football again, like same kind of logic with the Packers. I think the Bills need to run the football. I think they've realized that that's kind of the chink in their offense. Last year, Josh Allen throwing some red zone picks and not being able to score down there. I think they're going to use Damian Harris a lot. I think he's going to have double-digit touchdowns this year. My rookie is Chase Brown. Off the logic, he's just one injury away, fellas. Just one injury away. It's all about
one
opportunity.
suspension away.
Yep, you take him late, you stash him. And I think he also, my league winner was going to be Dalvin Cook. I'm going to change that as well to Chase Brown because I do think that if he does get an opportunity in that offense, it's more about the opportunity than the player. I think he can win you your league there. So I had to give you guys that as well. I know I went through everybody's, but I wanted to put mine out there. Any objections to anything?
No, not at all. Hey,
stuff.
listen, I just want to say,
at all.
Joe Mixon was just in court this week for his stuff, and
that too.
We saw as soon as Kamara's stuff was settled in court, suspension was out there. Joe Mixon doesn't have the luxury of a few years of COVID slowing his stuff down. It's in court right now, so who knows?
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else? Anybody would like to add anything else to the running back conversation? Any other words of advice to anybody who might be watching?
Don't panic on the signings of. Don't let Zeke and Cook and Kareem Hunt really cloud your judgment. If anything, maybe your league mates like Hall's been slipping in a little bit in draft. Stevenson's going to slip in draft. Don't panic that much. I don't think they're old players. They're kind of wearing down. Their stats may not say it, but trust the talent. Trust the talent.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in to the FantasyHolics. Next week, we'll be breaking down another position in the same format that we just did. Until then, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page below. Also, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Those links are on our YouTube landing page. For Bo, for Brant, for Patrick, I'm Josh Rodriguez. We will see you next week for another episode of the FantasyHolics.